All right, Dalton, now we're going to preview the Michigan State Spartans as they enter year one of the Jonathan Smith era, taking over after doing a great job at Oregon State, turning them around. It was kind of a rocky year for Michigan State last year, to put it simply. They went 4-8. Head coach Mel Tucker was fired after 2 games due to an off-field controversy. Their defensive backs coach, Harlan Barnett, then took over, and they only went 2-8 in his stretch instead after that. So like I said, they hired Jonathan Smith, great hire in both of our opinions. But he'll need to do the same for Michigan State that he did at Oregon State, man, because they were outside the top 110 in the country in terms of offensive grading and defensive grading. But I will say this roster could look a lot different. It's going to look a lot different because they brought in 23 transfers this offseason as well, including a new quarterback in Aidan Chiles. And I think that's really the biggest strength, really, Dalton, is that the passing game should be improved, hopefully, right? They had the 4th lowest graded offense in the Power 5 on passing plays last year. So really there's nowhere to go but up. And they should have a lot of optimism now getting Jonathan Smith in there as head coach, getting Aidan Chiles in there, a former 4-star recruit, getting tight end Jack Velling in there as well. We'll talk about it in a little bit. He's a top 10 tight end in the country as well. So I think the passing game should be improved for Michigan State, which is a big plus considering how bad it was last year. The biggest weakness, though, will the defense get any better is really the biggest question I have with this Spartans team right now. They were outside the top 100 in both grade and EPA per play last year. And not only that, their 3 best defensive players transferred this offseason in D tackles Derek Harmon, Simeon Barrow, and Jaden Mangum. So they did bring in a lot of transfers on that side of the ball as well, but they'll need them to immediately contribute. And like I said, you lose your 3 stars on defense, especially the 2 D tackles up front. It's a big loss for the Spartans. But tell me more, Dalton, about one guy they did bring in from the portal in Aidan Chiles, a new quarterback.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how Jonathan Smith kind of shifted the plan that he had at Oregon State and is just kind of taking the whole thing and moving it to East Lansing, right? And it starts with Aidan Chiles at quarterback, who he made a point to play a little bit last year as a freshman behind DJ Uiagalelei, and he performed well. He's a dual threat. He's kind of widery. He's got that skinny, almost Jaden Daniels kind of build. But look, he played a little bit last year. He scored 7 total touchdowns and didn't turn the ball over. You can see, look, he's skinny, but he's got a good arm. He's got this loose, over-the-top delivery that he can push it 60, 65 yards downfield, right? He's a good runner. I believe he's got a basketball background with his change of direction and his footwork. It's just very, sudden, kind of almost that crossover, Euro step kind of moves he can put on you in the open field. This is a true dual threat who just needs experience. I think if you're going to bring a new quarterback, a really young quarterback, to a new program, I think Aidan Chiles is an ideal guy to have, especially already having a year in Smith's system, right? And I think the entire thing fits what Michigan State needs to get back to and being a really physical football team like they used to be, right? To play with the Michigans and the Ohio States and Penn States, right? I think all of that's going to come. But I think having Aidan Chiles as a dual threat kind of centerpiece to that it's a really good player to have starting out, right? And I think I do think it's better than anything the Spartans had last year. And along with those 2 guys from Oregon State comes their tight end, Jack Velling, who is just a solid, reliable play-action seam threat who, again, already knows the offense, already has a comfort level with Chiles, a 77.2 receiving grade last year, which was top 15 in the country, led the nation, led all tight ends in touchdowns last year. And he's just has this thing where it's if you lose him, especially in play action and safety step up the seam, he's a dangerous threat. He can get vertical on you. There's not always a ton of tight ends who can do that, but he can sneak by you, and he's got enough speed to get behind safeties and hurt you, especially in this system where there's so much zone running and bootlegs and even just hard play action from under center. Velling's a really good guy to bring in here to be the main threat in the play action game.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's not the only transfer who'll be the star on his side of the ball for Michigan State because they brought in Ed Woods from Arizona State on the other side of the ball, who was transferring in from Arizona State, like I said, 77.9 coverage grade last year, 6th among Pac-12 corners. Very physical player, even though he's only 180 pounds. In fact, he was tied for 2nd among Power 5 corners last year with 2 forced fumbles. He has above average athleticism, but really makes up for it with his mirroring ability, I think. He should be the top corner for Michigan State in 2024 and should be one of the better corners that we have in the Big Ten Conference as well. So Obviously, Dalton, a rocky year for a lot of reasons for Michigan State. Tumultuous year last year. What will it look like in the first year of the Jonathan Smith era? Do you think it'll be a little bit of a rebuild for them, or do you think they could maybe make a bowl game immediately?
It'll probably look like a rebuild. I think there should be no judgments made about Michigan State, this program, about wins and losses this year, right? I think what this is, he's got to collect talent, and I think the biggest story of this year is the development of Aidan Chiles. If he looks better at the end of the year than he did at the beginning, then I think it's going to be a successful year, and you move into junior and senior years with him where you can really start to build something. That's what it's about for me. He's got to rebuild the culture. Look, Michigan State very quickly, like, we're not used to seeing them as bad as they were last year, right? And traditionally, they aren't. They're big, they're physical. I mean, we've seen so many times where they can rival teams like Michigan and Penn State and Notre Dame and all these teams they used to play really, really well. So I think they're going to get back to being physical. It's going to be kind of one of those culture building years, and the development of Chiles is going to be at the center of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great point. The culture is really the thing he's trying to build the most, more than a good roster, right? Because the culture at Michigan State, obviously last year with all the stuff going on off the field, wasn't great. So now Jonathan Smith, who's a proven culture builder, is going to do a good job, I think, of doing that at Michigan State. But I'm with you that you can't really look at this in terms of wins and losses this year. It's going to be a while before this program is back competing in the Big Ten, I think. But they have a great coach in Jonathan Smith. They have an enticing quarterback in Aidan Chiles as well. But I think it'll take some time before they regain their footing in the Big Ten as of right now. But that's what we got for our preview of the Michigan State Spartans as they head into their first year under Jonathan Smith as head coach. Again, we're doing this preview for every single one of the 70 Power 5 teams. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a single one.